There is a specific type of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It is not physical tiredness, it is the spiritual fatigue of living a life that does not belong to you. If you clicked on this video, there is a high probability that you are the rock. You are the listener. You are the one who adjusts the thermostat of your own personality to match the room temperature of everyone else. You are the nice one. And you are suffering. But it's a quiet suffering. It's a suffering that looks like patience. It looks like flexibility. It looks like being low maintenance. But deep down, in the quiet moments when the performance ends and the lights go out, you feel a simmering, hot, terrifying sensation in the pit of your stomach. You feel rage. This confuses you. You think, I am a good person. I help people. I don't cause conflict. Why do I feel so heavy? Why do I feel so resentful? Here is the uncomfortable truth we are going to explore today. Your niceness is not always a virtue. In fact, for many of you, your niceness is a trauma response. It is a rigid, defensive wall you built to keep yourself safe from a world that taught you that your needs were dangerous. The paradox of the nice person is this. The very behavior you adopted to ensure you would be loved and accepted is the exact behavior that is now ensuring you feel lonely, invisible, and deeply angry. You have purchased your safety with the currency of your selfhood, and now the debt collectors have come calling. You are suffering the most because you are carrying two lives, the one you show the world and the one you are strangling in the dark. To understand why the nice one burns out, we must look beyond the surface level of personality traits and look at the architecture of the nervous system. In psychology, we often talk about fight or flight, but there is a fourth response that is rarely discussed enough, yet it defines the existence of the chronic people pleaser: the fawn response. Coined by therapist Pete Walker, the fawn response is a survival strategy where an individual seeks safety by merging with the wishes, needs, and demands of others. If fight is moving against the threat, and flight is moving away from the threat, fawn is moving toward the threat to appease it. For the child who grows up in a volatile, emotionally neglectful, or highly critical home, fighting back is dangerous. Running away is impossible. So the brain chooses the only option left: become what they need you to be. You learned to scan the micro-expressions of your parents. You learned that being good meant being convenient. You learned that your autonomy, your no, your anger, your preferences caused disruption, so you amputated those parts of yourself. This creates what Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow is not just evil things. The shadow is simply everything you had to repress to be accepted. For the nice person, your shadow is not filled with criminal intent. It is filled with your boundaries. It is filled with your healthy aggression. It is filled with your ability to disappoint people without falling apart. When you suppress this for decades, you engage in what psychologists call transactional conditioning. You operate on a subconscious contract that says, if I suppress my needs and prioritize yours, you will never leave me and you will never hurt me. But here is the tragedy. The world never signed that contract. You are giving away pieces of yourself to people who view them as free samples, not as sacrifices. You are operating a charity that is bankrupting your soul, waiting for a tax return that is never coming. This biological rewiring, this constant state of high alert hyper-empathy means your nervous system never rests. You are permanently scanning for other people's discomfort, and that vigilance is metabolically expensive. It is eating you alive.
The cost of this survival strategy is what I call the invisible grief. It is the grief of never having been truly known. Because to be known You must be defined. You must have edges. You must have a shape. But the chronic nice person is like water. They take the shape of the container they are poured into. When you are water, you are useful. You are necessary, but you are not respected. And you are certainly not seen. The philosophical weight of this is crushing. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the danger of resentment in morality.
The cost of this survival strategy is what I call the invisible grief. It is the grief of never having been truly known. Because to be known, you must be defined. You must have edges. You must have a shape. But the chronic nice person is like water. They take the shape of the container they are poured into. When you are water, you are useful. You are necessary, but you are not respected, and you are certainly not seen. The philosophical weight of this is crushing. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the danger of resentment in morality. He argued that often what we call goodness is just cowardice dressed up in virtue. Ask yourself this painful question. Are you nice because you choose to be, or are you nice because you are afraid of what happens if you stop? If you are only kind because you are terrified of conflict, that is not kindness. That is submission. The emotional cost manifests as a deep, rotting sense of self-betrayal. Every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no, you are committing a microaggression against yourself. You are teaching your own psyche that you are not the authority in your own life. This leads to the hidden rage mentioned in the title. This rage is not a sign that you are a bad person. The rage is the guardian of your essence. Your rage is the part of you that loves you enough to wake up and say, "Stop letting them treat us like this."
But because you have labeled anger as bad or scary, you stuff it down, you swallow it. And as any psychologist will tell you, swallowed anger does not vanish. It rots. It turns into depression. It turns into anxiety. It turns into a cynical, bitter internal monologue where you secretly judge everyone around you for being selfish, while you envy their freedom to be so. You become a martyr, and the thing about martyrs is that they eventually resent the people they are sacrificing themselves for. You start to hate the people you love, simply because they are taking what you are freely giving. So what does this look like in the harsh light of adulthood? The nice person pathology doesn't just stay in your head. It infects every area of your life. Let's look at the 6 specific ways this manifests. First, the covert contract in relationships. You do everything for your partner. You anticipate their needs before they ask. But when you have a need, you stay silent, expecting them to just know because you knew for them. When they don't, you explode or withdraw. You entered a contract they didn't know existed. Second, professional stagnation. In the workplace, you are the reliable one, but you are rarely the leader. Why? Because leadership requires making unpopular decisions. It requires friction. Because you cannot tolerate being disliked, you stay in middle management, overworked and underpaid, cleaning up messes you didn't make. Third, the chameleon effect. You don't know what music you like, what food you want, or what your hobbies are. You have spent so long mirroring others that you have developed identity diffusion. You feel like a ghost, in your own body. Fourth, sudden explosive outbursts. Because you don't have a pressure valve for your emotions, you are a pressure cooker. You endure 99 slights with a smile, but on the 100th, usually something small like a dropped spoon, you erupt. Fifth, physical autoimmunity. There is a staggering correlation between chronic people-pleasing and autoimmune issues. The body says no when the mouth says yes. Your body is keeping the score of the boundaries you refuse to set. And finally, attraction to narcissism. The nice one and the narcissist are a lock and key. The narcissist needs a mirror, you are the perfect mirror. They need to take, you are compelled to give. You will find yourself repeatedly in relationships with people who consume you because their selfishness feels familiar to your childhood conditioning. Recognizing these isn't about shame, it's about witnessing. You have to look at these behaviors and realize, this isn't who I am. This is what I learned to do to survive. The unlearning begins when you realize that being nice is destroying your capacity to be real. So, how do we break the seal on this hidden rage? How do we stop suffering? The goal is not to stop being a kind person. The world needs kindness, but there is a difference between kindness and niceness. Niceness is reactive. It is born of fear. Kindness is proactive. It is born of strength. You can only be truly kind if you have the capacity to be dangerous, but choose not to be. Healing requires shadow work. You must go into that basement where you locked up your anger, your selfishness, and your no, and you must invite them back to the dinner table. You need to reintegrate your aggression. This means practicing disappointment. You must learn to tolerate the anxiety of letting people down. The first time you say no to a request you would usually say yes to, your body will panic. It will feel like you are going to die. You must sit with that sensation, breathe into it, and realize that the world did not end. You must learn to treat your resentment as a compass. Where you feel resentment, you have let a boundary be crossed. Listen to it. And finally, you must forgive the child who created this strategy. That child saved your life. They made you nice because they needed to secure love. Thank that child, and then tell them, I can handle the conflict now. I can handle being disliked. I don't need to be nice to be safe. To become whole, you must risk being seen as bad by those who only benefit from your submission. Your anger is not a mistake. Your needs are not a flaw. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. The people who truly love you will not run away when you finally show them who you actually are. It is time to stop being nice. It is time to be real.